Hello everyone. So today we'll discuss about analysis of flue gas by Alsets apparatus. Now this video was already posted on the channel, but I have been receiving request of revising the diagram portion because in that annotation feature was not visible. So I'm just again posting this video with a revised version of the presentation. I've included many figures in that and I hope you'll like this. So today we are going to discuss about Alsets apparatus analysis of flue gas. Now up till now you have seen that if there is a fuel possibly the compound which gives you energy on combustion and you're using it, so if it is a gas form you call it as a fuel gas, right? And then in order to understand the property of solid fuel, you did two types of analysis earlier, which one was proximate and the another one was ultimate, and a separate video on both of the analysis method is already posted. Now if you think you have done proximate and ultimate analysis of the sample and you have selected the best sample for your application, but even then if you're not getting the appropriate calorific value or the appropriate energy or the cost feature, etc., then what do you think, what could be the problem? Because using proximate analysis, you have selected the sample which is usable as a fuel, and then you shortlisted from those samples using ultimate analysis which one suits your purpose. So basically you have selected the best sample for your purpose, even then you're not getting those benefits. Why? Because there is one more analysis which is left, which we have not done, which is analysis of flue gases. So let us understand what do we mean by flue gases. Is it same as that of fuel gas, or why it is important to analyze those gases also? So now let's see what are flue gases. They are these gases which you use for combustion, right? So which you supply in the combustion chamber, that is a fuel gas. And what are flue gases? The flue gases are those gases which comes after combustion. So it is coming after combustion, it is coming out of the combustion. So those gases which comes after combustion, they are basically waste gases, you may call them. So basically those waste gases which comes after combustion are flue gases, and there are a lot many gases, but then what do we consider mainly are these five gases like oxygen, CO2, carbon monoxide, moisture and nitrogen. So what we do is we analyze these five gases which are coming outside the combustion chamber, and then I think they are going to help you. So first of all, if you are going to analyze those flue gases only, so how do we ensure that the combustion is complete? Because flue gas is that gas which comes after combustion. So if the combustion is not complete, obviously flue gases will give you rock analysis. So we do ensure the combustion by obviously analyzing the flue gases on a lighter note. So why should they be analyzed? But if it is waste gas, right? We are saying that they are waste gas. So why should they be analyzed? Because main fuel gas is already analyzed. So there is a requirement. I'll tell you what. Let's say if from the flue gas analysis, you found that the CO2 which is coming in the excess, there is a range in which it should come, but when you analyze the flue gas, the CO2 comes in excess, the value is increased. So what do you infer? That okay, the combustion is complete and the sample might contain greater carbon, and that is why CO2 is coming, right? Let's say if CO, that is carbon monoxide level is increased in the flue gas, right? When you analyze, you found that carbon monoxide is more than the standard value. What do you understand from that? We understand that the combustion is still incomplete, and that is why carbon monoxide is coming in the flue gas. Or why the combustion is incomplete, that we have to look into. And the second reason is it could be that oxygen supply is less. So whatever oxygen we are supplying in the chamber, if it is less, obviously it's going to result in a partial combustion, right? So with that we'll be able to overall improve our process of combustion. We need to see the design of the furnace. Like if the furnace design is such that the combustion is not proper, in some areas oxygen is not able to reach, so that with that we'll be able to help. Similarly, let's say oxygen amount is increased or maybe more in the flue gas analysis. So what is the inference you took from this? We took that oxygen supply is more. and that is why the oxygen is coming as such in the flue gas. So what we can do in this manner, we can regulate the supply of oxygen, and we should calculate that it should not be more. So this way we can save the amount of oxygen we are giving to the particular apparatus, right? Let's say moisture amount coming is more. The flue gas is still wet and the moisture is coming. So what do you infer? Why the moisture is coming in the flue gas? Obviously in the furnace there is a possibility of combustion, and then there is a possibility of condensation, right? The vapors are getting condensed, and that is why your vapors are wet, which it should not be there, because you know that if moisture is present in the combustion chamber, it is going to hinder your calorific value. So if this percentage is more, what you can do is you can rethink the design of the furnace, and you just cross check whether the furnace is having such kind of loopholes where the condensation can happen. So you need to redefine the shape of the furnace. Similarly, let's say if like CO2 and CO, both values are more. So what will you infer from that result? CO2 more, that means complete combustion. Carbon monoxide more, that means incomplete combustion. So what could be the inference if both are coming more than the expectations, than the expected range? Yes, you think it right. It is because of the non-uniform combustion. Because in some places of the chamber, oxygen is reaching, while in the some places the oxygen is not reaching properly to the sample, and that is why in that area there is partial combustion, not complete combustion. So non-uniform combustion is taking place, and again you can think on the design of the furnace. So overall, why should they be analyzed? We started with this question only, that why should they be analyzed? Why? Because there are certain conclusions which can be drawn from that analysis, which helps in improvement of the overall combustion process, and that helps in taking the energy out and using that fuel profitably. So I think with that you are able to understand that why flue gases are important to be analyzed and what are flue gases. Now coming to how are you going to do. So you are going to use Orsed's apparatus. So whenever you search on net, you will find this picture, which is very common. Everybody is using this picture, wherein you can see that it's a cupboard kind of thing, wooden cupboard, where you have a U-tube section here. The tube goes in, then you have 3 containers here, and then you have a burette and water jacket, which is again connected to a water reservoir. So if you think on this picture, you may not get the clear look of it. Let me show you the image which will give you a clear look. So this is what the U-tube is. If you understand, this is a U-tube. So now here, this was the U-tube I was talking about. Then it is a rubber tube which is joined to them, right? So let's see, this is a rubber tube which is joined to this. This one is a 3-way stopcock. So there are 3 ways to it. If you can move it either in to open it in this direction, or you open it in this direction, or you open it in this direction. So that is how this 3-way stopcock is used. Now coming to these, it is further joined to 3 containers. So these are the containers or bulbs, you may say, wherein you have to use some kind of liquids. Then it is connected to 2-way stopcocks. These are 2-way stopcocks. 2-way means you can either open it in this direction or in this direction. So obviously it's a 2-way stopcock. Then which is connected to a water jacket. This one is an outer cylinder, which you call it as a water jacket, which is filled with water. And inside, if you look, this white portion is nothing but the burette. So this is water jacket outside, and inside there is a burette in which you are going to fill your flue gas, and that is the burette. Obviously it is graduated, so you are supposed to note the volume from here. And then it is connected to a rubber tube, which is now connected to a water container. So I hope with that you have got a look. Now let us go ahead with how are we going to solve this problem. How are we going to analyze the flue gas? What you have to do is you have to pass on the flue gas in this particular U-tube section. So first U-tube, your aim is to get that pure and dry flue gas, right? So in order to maintain the purity, that means it should not have a dust particle or a smoke particle at all. What you can add here is you can keep glass wool in this U-tube. Glass wool is just like a wool particle, but it is made up of glass. So very fine particles of glass is used to make this wool. Now you imagine if the gas is passing through this and if it looks like wool, so obviously the solid particles, soot, smoke particles, dust, dirt will be entangled here. It will not allow those particles to pass through, and your gas will be obviously pure, right? So to maintain that purity, we use glass wool. And what about dry? That means the flue gas should not have moisture in it, and obviously we are going to use that anhydrous calcium chloride solution. So anhydrous calcium chloride is also placed inside, and with that you'll be able to know how much moisture is present in this flue gas sample. Now that flue gas comes here, your aim is to analyze the flue gas. So if you allow the flue gas to enter from this three-way stopcock, yet the entire apparatus is still filled with air, right? It is still filled with air. So what we want is, we need to evacuate the air and create a vacuum. So the first step is, before allowing the flue gas to enter into the apparatus, we should evacuate the air which is already present. Otherwise your estimation of CO2, O2, etc. will vary, right? So what we'll do is, we'll close this knob of three-way stopcock, we'll open this knob of three-way, and we'll open this way. So what we have done, out of these three ways, we have closed this portion, we have opened this, and we have opened this. Two ways are open for this three-way stopcock. Now what you can do is, you start filling your water from the water reservoir. This water will come down and it will start moving in the burette. It will start filling this particular portion, obviously. So when you keep on increasing the water level, it will start filling the entire apparatus. And what you have to do, when the water is coming from behind, obviously the air is going. You are pushing the air. Where? You are pushing the air here. So since this gate is opened, the air which has been pushed by this water, I am adding water from here. So obviously the water level is rising in this apparatus, and obviously the air is going. Where it is going? It is evacuating from this hole, vented hole, right? What you have to do? You have to fill this with water. So till you see the water here, you just keep on adding water from here, so that the entire apparatus is filled with water now. And the air is already gone, right? So now the entire apparatus is filled with water. Now if you see back, these things I am saying. So if you open this particular knob, the entire apparatus will be filled with water. Since this is made up of glass, you will be able to see that the water is coming in this portion. And the moment the water came here, you just have to stop now this particular gate. And now what you'll do? You'll close this gate. And now you open this, and this is already open, right? So now you open this, allow your flue gas to enter. But then flue gas, how will it enter? It does not have a space because water is already here. So what you'll do, you'll take your water level back. So water reservoir, the role would be to insert the water and to take the water back. So we are going to do this, we are going to add the water, we are going to take the water. So what we are doing now, we are going to take the water back. And slowly when the water is going back, flue gas will start taking its position. So now you have to continue doing that till the entire apparatus is filled with your flue gas. Now what is the boundary? Till what you have to do? So if you remember, like there was a burette here, right? So when the burette is here, right, like this, if a burette is there, what you have to do? You have to fill the flue gas till the last point of the burette. And before that, below that, there will be water. So here there is water, but here till here there is flue gas. So your entire apparatus from here to here, flue gas is already filled. So the moment you see that the water level is reached till here, you just close this door. So now the role of three-way stopcock is over. The role was to create vacuum in the apparatus and allow the flue gas to enter in the apparatus. So this is what is done. Now your complete apparatus is filled with flue gas. You have to start the analysis. So the first step is done. Second step is to analyze them. How are you going to analyze? With the help of these three containers. So you have container number 1, 2 and 3. What you will do is, you want the gas to go in one container at a time. So let's say this is two-way stopcock. Let's say I open this gate. Now when I open this, obviously gas will find a space to move and it will start moving in the container, right? But I want to ensure that the entire flue gas has gone in the one container. How can I do that? Yes, you are right. I will again add water. I'll keep on adding water so that the water forces flue gas to move out. And where it will go? Obviously the place is first container. So you have to do this process till the water come here. Now if you see, your entire apparatus is now filled with water. And where is the flue gas now? The flue gas has entered in the container number 1. Right? So now in one container, your flue gas has entered. What have you taken in one container is a known amount of KOH. And I guess you remember when we were doing Liebig's apparatus in ultimate analysis, we found that KOH absorbs CO2. So what happens is the KOH present in this solution will absorb CO2. So the second step is to estimate how much CO2 is present in the flue gas. Right? So now your flue gas is inside. Now how will you know how much CO2 is there? What you will do is, now you will again take your water level back and the flue gas will start coming out. So you have to again take your flue gas out. Once you take the flue gas out, you will see that the water level is like this much raised. Water level is this much raised means this much water has come down. That means this much flue gas has not came back from one container. Earlier the flue gas was till the last point of the burette, but now when you take in your flue gas back, it has not taken that much portion. Why? Because that much portion is CO2 which is absorbed in KOH, and that is why it did not came back. So from this volume of the burette, we'll be able to understand that how much CO2 is present. Right? Now you'll close this knob and open the knob of the second container. So now when you open the knob of the second container, what you will see? Obviously the flue gas will go to the second container. So now if I open this knob, since the flue gas has found its space, it will start entering in the second container. How will you tend the flue gas to go? Again, you'll increase the water level. So increase the water level till the flue gas moves in the second container and close it. Right? And close it. Now the entire flue gas is inside second container where we take alkaline pyrogallic acid. And obviously it absorbs some gas which is nothing but oxygen. So now we'll estimate how much oxygen is present in this flue gas. How? The entire flue gas is inside this chamber. Now you take your flue gas back. How will you take that? You just take the flue gas back by reversing the water action. So you tend the flue gas to come out by the force of water. You will take it back and now you will see that the water level is this much raised. Earlier it was here and now it is here. That means this much gas has not come back, and obviously where it is gone in second container. Now which gas it was? Obviously oxygen, because it absorbs oxygen. So from the volume of this burette, I'll be able to understand how much oxygen is present in this sample. And the same goes for the third container, that you close this door and you open this one. And now let the gas go in the third container. Here you have ammonical cuprous chloride solution, and that is going to give you amount of CO present. So when you take it back, you'll realize that this much amount is raised, and whatever is raised is proportional to the amount of CO formed. Right? So with the help of this graduated burette, we'll be able to understand how much these gases are present, and then whatever nitrogen is present, that you may use by subtracting them. Water, CO2, O2, CO, you just add them, subtract it from 100, you'll get the amount of nitrogen present in the flue gas. Now what is the role of this water jacket? Why are you keeping your burette inside this particular water jacket? Because the water jacket is actually maintaining the temperature constant, right? So we want a constant temperature. That is why you have actually immersed this burette in a water jacket, so that from outside there is no increase or decrease in the temperature. because I guess you remember with respect to temperature, the solubility of gas in water is affected, right? So if I increase the temperature, the fuel gas may get dissolved in the water, and it will lead to false estimation. So we need to maintain the constant temperature. That's why we keep it in a water jacket. So what is the role of water jacket? I hope you understand. Now what is the role of water reservoir? Obviously that was the main portion from which we were regulating the supply of water inside and outside. So I think with that you are able to understand what we are doing. So now let us have a quick recap that whether you have understood. So tell me, what do you think? What is this portion? Yes, this portion is wherein you are going to join your U-tube. And what is U-tube going to do? There'll be one glass wool, there'll be one calcium chloride. So it is going to maintain the purity, and we need to take that dry gas. That is why we use these two. So what do you think? What is this? Yes, you are right. This is three-way stopcock. You can see the three-way, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so what are these? These are two-way stopcocks. How are they? You are going to use them you have to move this to open this area. All right. So what are these three containers? Obviously container 1, 2 and 3. So you are going to use them one by one. And what is this? This is nothing but water jacket, and inside this I think you can see there is a burette present. So outside you have to fill it with water, inside there will be a burette. And what do you think is this? Is obviously the last water container, which helps you to regulate the supply of water. So now let us revise the thing by taking one more example. What I want to ask right now is you were following this sequence, right? CO2, O2 and CO. We started with KOH, pyrogallic acid and cuprous chloride. What I want to ask is, can we change the sequence? Like, can we directly go to the second container first and then go to this KOH and then maybe to this? Or any possibility, like let's say I want to go first in the third container, ammonical cuprous chloride. Can we do that? Have you thought of it? So let us get that answer now. Consider 3%. First one is obviously KOH. What does it help you to know? Obviously the amount of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and how? Yes, you are right, by absorbing it, right? Going to the second person, alkaline pyrogallic acid. What does it help us know? Amount of oxygen and CO2. Obviously how? By absorbing it. But what is important here is it absorbs both oxygen and CO2. Now let us go to the third one, ammonical cuprous chloride solution. What does it help us know? Carbon monoxide? No, it absorbs both oxygen and CO2, all three. So I think with that you are able to understand what I am trying to say. This absorbs only CO2, this absorbs both, and this absorbs all. So now if you change the sequence, if you directly go to this one, it will absorb both. So how will you will be able to understand how much CO2 is present in the sample, right? Let's say if you go to directly the third container, so it will absorb the flue gas, it will give you the total amount of flue gas. But I want to know how much CO is there, how much O2 is there, because in the starting of the slide I tell you that there is importance of each and every step, right? I want to know how much CO2, I want to know how much O2, so that I can decide accordingly. For that you have to go in a sequential manner, because first CO2 is absorbed. Now if you go to this container, there is no more CO2 in the flue gas, only oxygen is there, so it will give you the amount of oxygen. Similarly, now if you go to this, these two are already absorbed, whatever is left is CO. So this will give you the amount of carbon monoxide. So with that, I would like to take a leave, and I hope you understood the topic well. And if yes, do mention in the comment and like the video.